Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Internationally podcast. Before we start, let me talk a little bit about the podcast. So, the Internationally podcast is going to be a space where different international students, prospective ones, as well as current international students, could get a glimpse into the life of international students in the US or abroad. This week, I am joined by Zeresenay. Welcome to the show, Zeresenay.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for agreeing to be part of this podcast. I'm very, very excited about our conversation today. Before we start, I'm just going to read your bio and then we'll move on.
All right.
So, Zeresenay is an award-winning writer-director born and raised in Ethiopia. He moved to the US to attend film school and founded Haile Addis Pictures to produce his first narrative feature film, Difret, which was executive produced by Angelina Jolie and won audience awards at both the Sundance and Berlin International Film Festivals. Congrats, by the way. That's amazing.
Long time ago, but yes.
Yeah, no, but that's really great. His next feature film, Sweetness in the Belly, based on the international best-selling novel of the same name by Camilla Gibb, set during the Ethiopian Revolution in the 1970s, was a Canadian-Irish co-production starring Dakota Fanning and Yahya Abdul-Mateen, and had its world premiere at the 2019 Toronto International Film Festival. The film was distributed by Entertainment One and Gravitas Ventures and was the first feature film helmed by an African director financed by Canada's Public Telefilms Fund. He was most recently co-founder of original content for Kana Television, the popular free-to-air private satellite entertainment TV channel in Ethiopia, which was recently acquired by Canal Plus. He is currently head of production and a co-founder of A51 Pictures, an independent film production company based in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Zeresenay is currently developing a slate of films for the local and international market. He has a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Southern California's School of Cinematic Arts. Would you like to add more to your bio?
No.
All right,
I'm
great.
a father of three. I'm married and I'm
Great.
a father of three. So
Great.
yeah,
Yes, that's an important fact. Yes, great.
Yeah.
Thank you for adding that. So, as the title of our episode today is dealing with building a community, what is the first thing that pops to your head when you think about the word building a community?
How disenfranchised we were, and still are, maybe to a point. We like to stick together with things that we know, language that we are able to speak, and certain cultural things that we're accustomed to. And that, what I found for a lot of people was kind of a deterrent to getting into whichever place that we go to study, understanding the language, understanding the people, and also not just the host country, but also the many different students like us who also came from other places, and how important it was, or it is still, to build a community where we are vested in the safety, growth, and success of each other. And I think, to me, the first thing that comes in, and I say this everywhere we go, and even in my professional life, coming to Ethiopia after studying abroad and then not having a film community or entertainment community, or entertainment in terms of like singers, and then people who sing at bars and clubs, and we had few filmmakers, and then building that was also a challenge, because we never kind of looked at went and looked for it, or we didn't start it, we didn't so I quickly became very active as soon as I got to college. Like I was part of the African Students Union. I was part of the cinematic whatever at school. I was working for the School of Cinema. I was asking kids to shoot their films or to help out, for free. I had plenty of time, and I knew that, like most people, I came to America by myself, and I was 19 years old.
Right.
So I knew no one except an auntie who lived in Philadelphia, and I stayed with her for 3 months, and then went to California. So once I got to California, it was I was on my own. So I still have a very solid community that I built back then, 20 semi years after I graduated, and I could absolutely tell you that most of the people that are still friends with and that I were doing business together are people that I met on orientation on the first day of school.
Wow. That's amazing to hear. Thank you so much for sharing. As you were talking, I was also reflecting back on my own experience as an international student. And when I, think about the word like building a community, what I think about is, as human beings, we travel a lot, we go to different places. And so home is not really permanent. So in the different places that we reside, even if it's temporary, I think it's natural for us to like find people who think like us, who look like us, who share some sort of commonality, and then we build a community as a sort of survival, right, to go through a difficult challenge, which for us was transitioning from high school to college, in an environment that was different, in a learning environment, in a like weather type, like everything is just so different. People are different, and so one of the reasons, when you said like the people that you're still close to are the ones that you met during orientations, the same is true for me. One of my closest friends, are those I met during orientation for college. And so I'm very impressed and always amazed by the amount of conversations I have with different international students. And the same is true for everyone, is like the relationships that you build in college, the people that are sort of like family away from family.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it was that. I mean, I learned quickly that I can have multiple families, right? I can have multiple communities, right?
Exactly.
So, and then in a way later on, I also became a bridge between communities. Once I have built my own community. For example, I had students that were at my college, and then we were very cliquey, you know what I mean? So it's not generally the entire school or people from different disciplines. No, we were friends with only filmmakers, like guys who are going to the film school, right? And then the film school is in between, this massive university. So we as filmmakers also had to go and interact with other communities, like the guys in the School of Music, the guys in the Music of Arts, the guys in the Music of Journalism, the guys in the Music of Theater, because we needed each other, you know what I mean? So we go to the School of Theater, and then we cast actors from there, and then so we started building this niche, sort of kind of vibrant community. Where we basically are phone calls away from like, hey, I need someone to do this and this for me, and I was right there, right? And then we did very well. And then I miss home, and I'm born and raised in Ethiopia. You kind of like, and I left when I was 19, and I knew I was a grown person to me, going in, and so I discovered there's a little enclave of shopping centers and restaurants and shops of Ethiopian culture, and I went there, and that became the other community, right? And then through them, I also found one of my interests is playing soccer, like football. So, and during conversation and whatnot, we like, hey, by the way, I used to play soccer, like in Ethiopia, and are you really okay though? Where we have like multiple teams, like and then I became also part of the soccer culture in Los Angeles, which is massive, by the way. Like we have multiple teams. We're like, very good part of the Ethiopian Soccer Federation in North America.
Yep.
We won the championship multiple times.
Whoa.
So, so that became also, so you see what I'm saying, what I'm talking about. So within communities, there were also other communities that we were building.
Exactly.
And then after a little while, we start kind of, blurring the lines and then becoming the bridge. And without, by the way, like you don't set out to do it, you do it naturally,
Yeah.
I remember for the first time I brought my entire film school friends who've never had Ethiopian food before to a restaurant.
Whoa.
And that was just mind-boggling to them. So there were kids from Chicago, there's some kids from the South, there's some kids from New York. This guy's, I'm the very first Ethiopian they met.
Yeah.
They've never met another person.
Yeah.
And I was, I think, I think the first Ethiopian student in the film school. So there was a little buzz about it. They put me on the catalog and whatnot. It's like, hey, look, we have an Ethiopian. Yeah. We have an Ethiopian here. Yeah, check them out.
Right.
And but we became really, really good friends. And then they started bringing other people there without me. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
And now, I have become, earlier when we were texting, me and you were talking about like being an ambassador to your culture, to your parents, to your country. And I was very keen on that, right? Because I saw myself as somebody who's representing a lot of people, because I was lucky enough to come and to go to a private school, probably like one of the top schools in the world, if not the top school in the world. And to get the chance to be there and, sort of like I let them listen to Ethiopian music and then take them to Ethiopian restaurants. And then we, even like pretty much everything that I've done circled around Ethiopian stories. That kind of helped me not really forget home, but I was so comfortable now. I was really good being there, and I have multiple communities that I can go to. And my loneliness and being homesick kind of gotten to decrease. And I remember because my parents were freaking out why I wasn't calling them every week I used to. It's like, hey, now I have a different family. And not that you're neglecting your own family, but like you're building other families.
Exactly.
Which, to a point, by the way, when I got married, years and years later, I got married in Ethiopia, and most of this guys that I was at school with me came to my wedding.
Whoa, that's
about
so nice.
six, between myself and my wife, about 68 or 70 people, Americans and different ethnicities came to Ethiopia from my wedding. You know what I mean? And it, like, to me, that was like the final chapter where it's like they met a guy, they got to know this guy, they heard his language, they heard his music, they had their food, and then now they came. And so and I had to take them, take them to Aksum, Lalibela, and Bahar Dar. So we did all of that stuff, and we're still checking on each other every couple of months, and it's so important.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really amazing. It's a full circle moment. You never know the impact that people have on you until later in life, and then that's really amazing. Thank you for sharing that story. Let me now take you back to when you were 19 and you found out you were going to the US by yourself to be an international student in California. What was your thought process? Were you at all apprehensive about, feeling lonely or missing home? Or what was the expectation that you had about being a student abroad?
I mean, I had mixed feeling. One is because I was so comfortable in Addis, and I didn't want to leave Addis. And I had a lot of friends. I had even bigger communities in Addis because of my soccer career because I played soccer professionally when I was in Addis, and then and I grew up in Mercato, and we tend to have like millions of friends.
Yeah, of
So
course.
I pretty much knew half of Addis Ababa, I could say. So leaving that was not cool, but at the same time, I was so curious to see America. You know, I don't know how, because I knew because my brothers went to Europe for school, so I didn't want to go to Europe. Like I was dying to go to America if I went to America, but you know, at first I was not even at all interested, and my dad had to sit me down and then go like, dude, you know, you have to go to school, you know, and then there's a chance, and don't let this chance go by. And then so a bit of excitement, a bit of sadness, but filled with lots of curiosity, you know. I just couldn't wait to be here. And funny enough, as soon as I landed in Philadelphia, I went to Philly first because that was my auntie was my sponsor, so I had to go to Philadelphia until I got my green card. But I touching down in Philadelphia, I felt like I was there anymore, like before. Like I felt home, you know, like it was like the movies. I had no anxiety, I had no fear. They actually had to tell me like, hey man, you can't just leave the house. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
you know, you don't have an ID, you don't have anything. So if you're lost, if something happened to you, we can't find you. Like I didn't want to be home. I want to go outside and shake people's hands and let people, you know, talk to people. I was also oblivious that my accent was pretty bad. I spoke English. I went to public school in Addis, so my English was terrible. So but you know, and my head though was perfect.
Of course.
You know what I
That's
mean?
what we think.
Like,
Of course.
So, but I you know, you know, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't anxious. And I knew that I was mission driven. I wanted to finish my school and come home. That's what I told my parents. Like 4 years, you know, I'll be right back. You know, that kind of the thing I took.
Right. And you know, just piggybacking off said, you know, having a goal and having a mission when you go somewhere, you know, to get an education, because there's a lot of distractions, you know, that happen in college. There's a lot of new things that come, and then, you know, your parents aren't with you, so you're very independent. But then, you know, you have to always keep in mind, like, why am I here? You know, I have a goal, right? So for me personally, you know, similar to you, my goal was to get, you know, my degree. Like, no matter what, you know, no matter what it took, I have to get the degree. Like, you know, it was very, very hard. You know, there were a lot of challenges. Also, the good times happened, but at the same time, the end goal was the degree, and then coming back to Ethiopia was the goal. And so, you know, right after I graduated, I came back to Ethiopia, and, you know, that's how it went. But, you know, now when I'm sitting here and looking back, it seems so easy to talk about it. Yeah, I had a goal, like, you know, I graduated and came back here. No. But there was a, you know,
no, I mean, to be honest with you, it's like the reason that it was easy is because we really, really are really prideful people, and and I'm sure it's pretty much everyone that came that went to another country for school. We had this dying vision of helping our country, you know, like I knew that I wanted to come back and then be part of, you know, the change that was happening in Addis, you know, in Ethiopia as a whole. So to me, it was a minor detour from what I was thinking about doing. And I knew that there was also some sort of responsibility that I felt like, you know, it could have been anybody else, but it's me.
Exactly.
So, and I have to make the best of it, and I can't squander this chance. And I have to come back with something that, you know, benefits my family, and then later on benefit the country, you know. So that was my thing. So, and I was very, you know, the difference, because nobody thought that I would be that serious, because I wasn't that serious in Ethiopia. You know, I was all about good times, and I was all about playing sports. And then school, I was really good at it when I was there. But then again, I just it's like, well, it's over. I
Right.
never saw myself going to university and becoming a
Mm.
professional. I
Mm.
wanted to be a professional soccer player, but
Mm.
not like a professional anything else. So
Right.
when
Yeah.
that did not happen, there
Mm.
was no fallback plan, you
Right.
know.
Right. Right.
But the saving grace for me was like my dad kind of enticed me, and he was like, "Hey, you
Mm.
always talk about films. You always,
Mm-hmm.
you know, why not see if something is there for you?"
Yeah.
And then he kind of said that, but then again, when I loved it, he got
Mm-hmm.
mad at me because he still would have
Yeah.
liked it for me
Yeah.
to be a doctor or an engineer, like the,
Yeah.
the normal the
As
normal
most
acceptable
Ethiopian
things.
parents, yeah,
Yeah, it's not.
obviously.
By the way, I realize it's not just Ethiopians. It's
Mm.
all
Yeah,
Southeast
immigrants
Asians have
maybe
the same thing.
mentality. Yeah. Yep.
Pretty much
Yep.
anybody that is from the Southern Hemisphere, you kind
Yeah.
of it's a
Expectation.
given. Like you need to be that because those are the sought after jobs.
Exactly.
Uh, it's about changing the luck of your family and
Mm-hmm.
and and doing really good by that. But I
Right.
knew, and then when you talk about distractions, there were plenty of them, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
and to a point where I had to go and live on my own because my roommates were not.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see eye to eye. Basically, I mean, they were there
Right.
before me. They come from a better family.
Mm.
They have started work already. They
Mm.
have uh, nice cars,
Right.
um, and I kind of like, I'm gonna get there, but like right
Right.
now, I need to finish this thing that I said I'm
Yep.
gonna finish.
Right.
And I did not waste one semester.
Mm.
I got in 96. I left in 96, and I had to wait 1 year because the difference is I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have money. My
Mm-hmm.
parents were poor,
Right.
so international students have to pay over $100 per credit unit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if I had waited for 1 year and became a resident,
Uh,
then I would pay only $20 per credit unit.
whoa. Great.
Not only that, then
Mm-hmm.
there was financial aid, and then
Yep.
I could get scholarships,
Yep.
and I could get a work permit, and I could actually work and earn
Mm-hmm.
money to go to school.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what I did. So I waited
Mm-hmm.
until then, and then in '98, um, I applied for school, and then they said like, well, your English and your math, you have to redo them because they're not
Mm.
compatible with ours. And
Mm.
I'm like, okay, great. So I did 1 year of community college before I moved. So I'm
Great.
like, the entire time that I was in
Mm.
in America at first, it's either that I'm working
Mm-hmm.
to get my credit unit or my
Yeah.
residency, paying my taxes, or I'm taking classes that
Mm-hmm.
would count to fulfill
Mm-hmm.
the curriculum, and then so I can go into a 4 year university, which I
University.
did there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing your story. That's really great.